everybody can be seated. So, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, too, I also want to instruct you that you are only to consider evidence of the plaintiff's own distress relating to the publication of the sex videotape. Thank you. So, another cross-examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Mr. Balea.
Good afternoon.
What I would like to do is talk with you a little more about your relationship with Bubba the Love Sponge, all right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, you've known Bubba over 10 years, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. And you were best friends until October of 2012, right?
Around that time, yes, sir.
Okay. And when you were best friends, Bubba the Love Sponge was as close or closer than a family member, correct?
Over time, yes, sir.
All right. And when you were best friends, you would have done anything for him, correct?
Well, I would have done almost anything, yes.
All right. You did pretty much everything he asked, didn't you?
I don't recall if I did everything he asked.
Okay. You love Bubba unconditionally, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you considered him like a younger brother, didn't you?
Well, I tried not to think of him as a younger brother. I considered him a friend.
Okay. All right. You felt you knew Bubba well. Is that fair to say?
Yes, it's very fair.
Okay. You were the best man at his wedding, right?
Yes, sir.
Godfather to his son?
Yes, sir.
All right. Let's shift our focus just slightly. Now, Bubba, as we all know from the past few days, is a radio personality in this community, isn't he?
Bubba the Love Sponge, yes, sir.
He is. Now, before October of 2012, you used to appear on Bubba's radio show, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
All right. And you frequently were a guest on the show. Sometimes you would appear in person, right?
Yes, sir.
But in fairness, the personal appearances, what was it, about 5? I think you said between 5 and 10 times? In person.
Oh, yes, sir. In person, maybe 5. Not more than 10. I wouldn't think so.
Okay. You also would appear on his show by calling in, right?
Yes, sir.
And in those instances, I think you told us before, that there were between 50 and 100 times that you called in on the radio, right?
More or less, yes, sir.
All right. Now, having you appear on Bubba's show helped Bubba broaden his audience, didn't it?
In my opinion, having Hulk Hogan on the show, I think, brought more of an awareness to his show, especially when he changed from local radio to Sirius, which is nationwide.
Okay. And at the same time, in fairness, it was good for your career to be on Bubba's show, wasn't it?
At that time, it was not a negative.
Okay. Well, let's put it this way. Once Bubba was on Sirius Radio, hearing you on the radio helped create awareness of Hulk Hogan beyond just the wrestling world. Is that fair to say?
In my opinion, I'm sure his Sirius radio show reached some people that may not have watched wrestling.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure most of the people that heard Sirius knew Hulk Hogan, but it could have drawn a different demographic in.
All right. And by appearing on Bubba's radio show, that also gave you a platform when you wanted to speak out on some issue, correct?
It could be a platform, yes, sir.
Okay. So, for example, when you were going through kind of tough times with various issues, like with your ex-wife, there was that episode where there were too many animals, that thing in Bel Air, he allowed you to speak out on that, right?
Yes, sir, always is Hulk Hogan.
Okay.
The character.
Right. And he would allow you to use his show to voice your side of a story, wouldn't he?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, when you and Bubba were friends, he supported you, didn't he?
In what way are you talking about?
Well, when you were going through the tough times with your wife, Linda, he supported you there, didn't he?
Yes, sir. He was a good support He was on my side, yes, sir.
Yeah, and when you were going through the divorce with Linda, he was a supporter for you there as well, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. He also, beyond that, and he supported you by helping your daughter Brooke's career, didn't he?
He was the one that actually took her to a studio first time to record her voice.
Okay. And he also used his program to promote her album, didn't he?
Yes, sir. He would let me call in and talk about her album or her video.
Okay. During that period when you and Bubba the Love Sponge were close friends, you would talk frequently, right?
During that time, we would talk frequently. Yes, sir.
Okay. And when you were in town, you'd typically see each other pretty much every day, right?
It was not consistent. There may be a week where I'd see him 3 or 4 times a week, and then there may be a week where it changed depending on his schedule.
Okay.
The Sirius show put extra stress on him because he had to do a radio show, 2 shows a day, so it changed things. Instead of working for 4 hours a day, he was pretty much on the radio 8 hours a day, so it changed a lot of stuff.
Okay. All right. Shift our focus slightly again. At this point, you're no longer best friends with Bubba the Love Sponge, correct?
Okay.
Is that correct?
Right now?
Yes, sir.
No, he's not my friend. No, sir.
Okay. And you no longer speak?
No,
right?
sir, I do not.
Okay. But you miss him, don't you?
Well, I miss the guy I thought he was. I miss the guy I thought loved me and I thought he was my friend. I miss that guy. I don't miss him, the guy I know who he is now.
All right. You miss talking to him, don't you?
Not anymore. No, sir.
No?
No.
You don't miss hanging out with him?
Things have changed a lot in my new life. So, I have a new relationship where I spend most of my time with that person.
All right. Now, after the still photographs, we're going to talk about one of the things you discussed with Mr. Turkel. After the still photographs from the tape were published in April of 2012, you stayed friends with Bubba the Love Sponge, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You still considered him, at that point in time, April of 2012, to be your best friend, right?
Yes, sir, because he said he had nothing to do with the still photographs.
Right, exactly. After you saw one of those grainy photographs, you had a face-to-face conversation with Bubba at the studio, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
All right. And you asked him if he had anything to do with this, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. And he swore to you that he had nothing to do with this, right?
Yes, sir.
And he cussed you like a dog, didn't he?
Maybe not the first time, but I know the second or third time I asked him, he got very nasty about it.
Well, he cussed you for doubting him, didn't he?
Yes, sir, he did.
Okay. And he told you, he said, well, I'm your best friend, right?
Yes, sir, he
And
did.
he told you, he said, I'd never do that to you, didn't he?
Yes, sir, he did say that.
All right. And you believed him, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Now, let's move forward in time yet again. Let's focus on October 2012. To be precise, October 4 of 2012, which is when Gawker posted the video, right? That video excerpt and the commentary that we saw this morning during the open. Okay? Focus on that. After Gawker posted that, you confronted Bubba again, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
And you asked him face to face whether he filmed you, and he lied, didn't he?
He lied more aggressively, more adamantly, because when the video was released, my whole world changed. It flipped my world upside down, and I was desperate to know if he did this because my whole life had changed.
My question was, he lied to you, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you asked him man to man whether he filmed you, and he lied to you, right?
Yes, sir, he did.
All right. And you looked him right in the eye, and he lied to you, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you said to him, as my best friend, I need you to tell me the truth. Despite that, he lied right to your face, didn't he?
Yes, sir, he did.
Okay. At that time, you believed Bubba completely, didn't you?
At that time, I did believe him completely. There was no reason not to.
All right. You couldn't tell he was lying, could you?
I could not.
He was convincing, wasn't he?
He made me believe that he was my best friend and he would never lie to me.
All right. And he seemed sincere, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
Okay. Seemed completely honest at that time, right?
Yes, sir, he did.
All right. Now, as well as you knew Bubba, best friend, 10 years, you couldn't tell he was lying to you, could you?
I could not.
Okay. As close as you were, you couldn't tell, right?
No, sir.
Would you agree that Bubba the Love Sponge is a pretty good liar?
Yes, I would.
All right. Now, let's shift our focus yet again. Now, you have testified that you had no knowledge that you were being, when you were having these sexual encounters with Heather, you testified that you had no knowledge you were being recorded, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did Bubba at any time tell you anything like, well, look, you can only have sex with Heather if you let us report this? Do you ever say anything like that?
No, sir, he did not.
Okay. For her part, did Heather ever say to you anything like, listen, we can only have sex if Bubba was able to record this? Anything like that?
No, sir, I never had that conversation with Heather.
Okay. As I understand it, you have said you never noticed security cameras in Bubba's house, right?
No, I never noticed security cameras in Bubba's house.
Okay. That is your testimony. You recall giving a deposition in the case back a couple years ago.
To the best of my recollection, I remember saying Bubba had security cameras.
No, sir. You told us you never noticed the security cameras. That's what you told us in the deposition, right?
The deposition I recalled was a deposition that related to the bedroom, where I said I never noticed security cameras.
Yeah. Okay. I may have confused you.
A little bit, yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Now, and I take it you said that Bubba never pointed out his security cameras to you, right?
When I said that, I was talking about pointing out, I think it was in reference to the bedroom. You're confusing me again, but I'm pretty sure the deposition you're talking about had to do, if you read a paragraph or two before, I'm pretty sure it had to do with the bedroom.
Yeah. Let me do this just to clear this up in fairness to you. Do you have a binder of depositions up there if you want to read along?
I don't have anything.
Okay. I can give you that if that is helpful. I can also read it. So whatever you prefer. I'm happy to do any of that.
I'd love to have both if possible.
Okay, super. Can I approach her?
Thank you. Where am I reading?
I'll just show you one thing. These are tabbed because there are multiple days.
I'm sorry, I
These are tabbed because there are multiple days. So I'll give you a volume.
Okay.
And then a page number.
Okay.
All right?
Thank you.
Okay. Sir, if you could look at volume 2, page 258, lines 5 through 7, and see if this refreshes your recollection.
5 through 7?
Yes, sir. 258, 5 through 7. Okay. Pardon me. In fairness, let's go 2 through 7. All right? Question was asked, and how many times would you say that you've been in Bubba's bedroom? Answer, no more than 3. Question, did you ever notice security cameras in Bubba's house? Answer, no. Question, did Bubba ever point his cameras out to you? Answer, never. You see that?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And then you say, let's continue on just for completeness. Questions at line 10, did Bubba, I assume therefore that Bubba never explained to you how his security cameras worked? Answer, I never knew he had cameras. Do you see that?
Yes, sir, but that was in reference to line 2. It was a whole train of thought I was on. I thought you were talking about Bubba's bedroom.
Right.
Line 2 says, how many times have you been at Bubba's bedroom? I said, no more than 3. And then you talked about the house, Bubba's house. And I thought we were talking about the bedroom in the house. This is my train of thought. And then I said, I never knew he had cameras. My whole train of thought was about the bedroom. We were talking about the bedroom in Bubba's house at that point.
All right. Now,
In my opinion, of what I'm reading here.
Now, did Bubba tell you that following his child custody dispute, his agent, Mr. Bean, you're familiar with Mr. Bean, told him that he should put security cameras throughout his house?
Never.
Okay, didn't tell you that? All right.
No, and I was his best friend. He would have told me something like that.
Okay, and you would remember that?
If he told me, I would remember that.
All right. Now, let's look at Defendant's Exhibit 306. And this is a clip.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Oh.
What am I looking for now?
I'm going to show you a clip of one of those
I'm
programs.
sorry. I apologize.
All right. Tim, and Your Honor, just so the record is clear for the court and the jury, this is Defendant's Exhibit 306. It's a clip of an appearance, Mr. Balea, that you made on October 10, 2012 on the Sirius XM wrestling show, Busted Open. All right? You're familiar with that wrestling show, Busted Open?
No, not really. There's so many of them. There's hundreds of them.
Can't remember? All right,
Maybe.
let's see if this will refresh your recollection. Do you recall appearing as part of your media tour in October of 2012? Do you recall appearing on that program, that Sirius radio program?
No, sir. And when you go in the Sirius building in New York, you can be in the Sirius building for 2 or 3 hours, which I usually would do. I would do 30 or 40 radio shows. So I don't know which radio show was busted open in the Sirius building. I'm sorry.
All right, fair enough. Let's see if this will refresh your recollection. Tim, if you could play the clip.
Open, Doug and Dave, as promised, the great Hulk Hogan in studio. First off, want to say, Hulk, thank you for still agreeing to come and sit down with us after all these things that are swirling around in the media right now. I just want to say thank you, and it's got to be a tough time right now for you and your family.
Well, it's kind of like I walk into another safe zone right here.
Yeah, Mr. Balea, do you recognize your voice on that program?
It definitely sounds like me.
Okay.
That's Hulk Hogan.
Okay, fair enough. Do you have any reason to believe that that's not you on that program, on October 10?
If you're telling me that's a radio show, a wrestling radio show in Sirius, and you're telling me that that's me, it sounds like my voice. I have no reason to disbelieve you at this point.
All right. Okay. Tim, if you could play the second clip.
I even asked you, because I know you had security cameras in your house. You're not filming, sir.
Okay. Could you hear that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you asked Bubba, I know you have security cameras in your house, you're not filming this, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's look briefly at Defendant's Exhibit 309, which, for the record, is another clip of an appearance you made the same day, October 10, 2012, on the Sirius XM Covino and Rich radio program. You familiar with that program?
They're all the same. Like I said before, once you get in that Sirius building, there's probably 40 or 50 studios with radio shows in each room. So they take you around to all these radio shows and you talk to everybody in a 2 or 3 hour period. So I'm not sure Covino or Busted Open. I'd have to see the guy to actually remember who I was talking to. I can't tell from the voice.
Okay. So what you're telling us is they get you in that Sirius building, and then basically they try to maximize the value of your appearance. They show you to one program, take you to another program, maybe do another interview. That's just how it works, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fair enough. And I take it as you sit here right now, you don't have, that particular interview doesn't stand out in your mind.
No, sir, it doesn't.
That's fair? Okay. Tim, if you could please play a clip from Defendant's 309.
Steve Cagino,
My mom says I'm a catch. I'm popular.
and the infamous Rich Davis.
Deep down inside, I'm a little black kid from Brooklyn.
The Cagino and Rich Show.
All right. Now, does that refresh your recollection at all?
No, I'm sorry, it doesn't.
Okay, all right. Tim, do you have a second? If you could play the second clip.
I did at the end of the day, you know, as I'm standing there, I know what's wrong. And I said, oh, there's no cameras in here. I know you got video cameras.
Okay. Did you recognize your voice there?
Definitely sounds like me.
Okay. Does that in any way refresh your recollection on that particular interview that day?
No, it doesn't, but it sounds like I'm asking him, you don't have cameras in here? Because if that's what it sounds like I asked him. It went really fast.
Okay.
You play it for me again, I might be able to hear it better.
All right.
Thank you.
Tim, if you could play it again for Mr. Belay.
I did at the end of the day, you know, as I'm standing there, I know what's wrong. And I said, oh, there's no cameras in here. I know you got video cameras.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm asking the question. There's no cameras in here. I mean, why would I ask that question if I knew there were cameras in there? It doesn't make sense.
Right. Well, you were concerned that there may be cameras in there, right?
Well, it's like I said before, that it was so surreal that I was there and he was handing me a condom. My gut just didn't feel right, and it just came out. You're not filming this, is what I actually said, if I can remember correctly. And that's why I was asking him, because I was concerned that this thing felt so weird. My gut was telling me it just doesn't feel right, and you're not filming this, are you? I asked him, and that's what it sounds like to me, but it was really fast, and it sounded...
Okay. Still having a little hard time following it?
Well, I can hear it, but it sounds a little, the verbiage sounds a little
All
different.
right. We'll see if we can do a little better for you. But let me ask you this. Why'd your mind immediately go to the question of filming?
It just... being there, knowing I shouldn't be there, knowing everything felt weird, it was just my gut feeling. I was following my gut. It just came out. I just asked it because was my gut feeling at the time, and he reassured me that there wasn't.
I see. So
So
that's
I
what
just
left
don't understand
to
why if I asked him that question, and if I did know there were, why would I ask him that question?
Right.
I don't understand.
Okay. Now, let's look briefly at Defendant's Exhibit 229. And this is a clip of that television appearance you made on October 10, 2012 on Showbiz Tonight. You saw a little bit of that earlier. Tim, if you could please play the first clip.
All of a sudden, you know, I remember saying, hey, we're not filming this. I know you get security cameras. No, I'm your best friend on that.
Right? So you did know there were security cameras in Bubba's house, correct?
Well, yeah, I knew Bubba had cameras, but I was never told or never was pointed out that there was a security camera pointing at the bed, or if there was a camera in the bedroom. I've never heard of that.
Right. But you knew he had cameras, security cameras in his home, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Now, if we could shift our focus yet again, when Gawker came out with the October 4, 2012 post, right? When they put that piece up there on their website, you did not read the commentary on the sex tape that Mr. Delario wrote, did you?
No, sir. I've never read it.
All right. And you never read the commentary until your deposition, in this case in March of 2014, correct?
I don't recall if I read it at the depot.
All right. You don't remember that at all?
No, I don't.
Okay. All right. Just so you can see, if you look at volume 3, page 416, 21 through 420. Take a look at that.
Page 416?
Yes, sir. 416, starting at line 21.
416, 21. Just line 21?
Yes.
Did you know when Gawker came out with a post?
Yeah, 41621, you see it says, did you know that when Gawker came out with the post, did you read the text of the article it posted? Answer, no. Question, okay, have you ever read it? Answer, never read it. Question, at the time that Gawker posted the video excerpts, did you watch the video excerpts? I've never watched the video excerpts, never watched. All right? Now, you'll see down there, if you go down to page 417 at line 14, you'll see there was an Exhibit 92 at your deposition, and it's the Gawker post, and you were asked to read it there. Did you see that? I'm going to ask you to read it so that, are you all right? I'm fine, yeah. I'm going to ask you to read it, let me know when you've had a chance to do so. You see that?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so that refreshes your recollection that indeed, at your deposition in March of 2014, you read the commentary, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, you told us you've never watched the complete sex tape that Gawker received, the one that was sent to them anonymously in the mail. You've never watched that, right?
No, sir.
Okay. Now, when Gawker posted the commentary, they posted the video excerpts that we talked about this morning in the open. It did.
If I may, a rule of completeness, can we approach on that last excerpt you just read?
Now, when Gawker posted the commentary and the video excerpts on October 4, 2012, you testified, you told us you didn't view those video excerpts at that time, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. As of March 2014, the deposition we just looked at, you testified that you never watched the Gawker video excerpts, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then, moving forward in time, there was another deposition about a year, a little over a year later, April of 2015. You and I met for the first time, and you testified to me that you never watched the Gawker video excerpts, right?
Correct.
Okay. Now, let's look briefly at Defendant's Exhibit 231, and what we're going to see is a clip of a television appearance that you made this same day, October 10, 2012, on a show called Sway in the Morning. You familiar with Sway in the Morning?
No, I'm not.
Okay. All right.
Is that another series?
No, it's not. This is a television program.
Okay.
Okay.
Sway in the Morning, say 4-5, he is here. 12-time world champion, my buddy, citizen of Sway in the Morning, Hulk Hogan. Hogan is here.
Media in the house, my brother.
Okay. Do you recognize yourself there in that clip?
Yeah, it looks like the same day. I went on Howard Stern the same day that he told me about Bubba. I had the same clothes on. It looks like the same day.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Do you know the fellow that was sitting next to you, the host of the program, Sway?
I've seen him on TV before, and I don't recall meeting him. That might have been the first time we actually met and talked, but I've seen him before.
Okay, fair enough. Now, I've got another clip for you. Tim, if you could play the second clip from Defendants 231.
Hey, you saw the tape, huh? Have you seen the tape?
I saw the front of it, bro.
Yeah, the front of
And
it.
it made me so sick. You know, I think it was like a minute 40, but I probably watched a minute of it.
Now, you see yourself there telling the host, Sway, that you actually watched a minute of the Gawker tape, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, when you said that to Sway, and his listeners out there that are watching that, viewing that program, were you being honest there? Did you view a minute of the program?
No, I did not.
Okay. So you just told folks that, right?
Pretty much I was on autopilot. I had information from my attorney, and that was just said. I mean, I haven't seen the tape.
All right. So did you think that that would be a good thing to say you'd seen some of the program when you hadn't? I just don't follow.
I don't understand why I said that, because I haven't seen a minute of the tape.
Okay, fair enough. Let us look at Defendant's Exhibit 230. Take a look at that. You'll see this is a clip from another television appearance you made on October 10, 2012. And this program is called VH1 Big Morning Buzz.
Okay.
All right.
I got a phone call from TMZ, and a couple of the guys on the phone that run the show, and they read a transcript of the tape. And I said, have you seen it? And one of the guys in there said, no. And I said, I don't believe it. I have to see this tape. So I haven't seen it, the end of the tape. I've seen like the minute 40 version that they put out.
Now, there you tell the viewers of VH1 Big Morning Buzz, not that you saw a minute, but that you saw the full minute and 40-some seconds of the tape, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Were you being truthful with the viewers of that program on that day?
Well, that statement's not truthful. That's the same day as the media tour. That's the same day that the news was broken to me on the phone from TMZ. And as Hulk Hogan, to the best of, I can look at this and say I was probably in the Hulk Hogan mode, try to get through the day, try to figure out what's going on. I'm not going to say cover my ass mode because there was nothing to cover, but I just was in the Hulk Hogan mode trying to get through the day and trying to get through the interview, and that was not a truthful statement as Hulk Hogan on camera.
I see. So when you are in Hulk Hogan mode, rules and things like telling the truth do not apply? Is that how it works?
Well, as Hulk Hogan, I've said I've slammed an elephant and surfed on a tiger shark and, body slammed Moby Dick. So, and I also said I pulled the bumper off a Cadillac Jack. So it gives you artistic liberty when you're Hulk Hogan to be a character, and it's entertainment.
So when you were going on those programs, Sway, this VH1 program, and telling folks about what you'd been through, that was Hulk Hogan telling these people about the experience. That wasn't Terry Bollea telling folks about the experience, right?
Well, like I said before, whenever I leave my house, I'm not Terry Bollea, I'm Hulk Hogan, I'm the character, and that's Hulk Hogan. I didn't go on Sway's show as Terry Bollea.
Okay, all right.
Or whatever, I'm sorry, I apologize, whatever that show was.
Okay. Now, let's shift gears again. And we're going to move forward in time a little further. We're going to move to October 16 of 2012. That is 12 days, right? We established the Gawker Post, came out on October 4th of 2012. Move forward, please, 12 days to October 16th. Now, on that day, your friend, or in fairness, former friend, perhaps would be more accurate, Bubba the Love Sponge, went on his radio program and he spoke publicly about this whole sex tape story, right?
Yes, sir.
You remember that?
I remember those 2 days where he was rude and obnoxious. I did not hear the show, but I had a friend that told me about the show.
All right. Let's take a look at Defendant's Exhibit 278. And then,
You can approach.
let's do this. Let's shift our focus and talk a little more about how this encounter with Heather Clem came to take place. Now, according to your prior testimony, the idea of you having sex with Heather first came up at a phone call with Bubba, right?
To the best of my recollection, yes.
Okay. And I think you told us earlier that Bubba put Heather on the phone and she started asking you to have sex with her, correct?
To the best of my recollection, it was something along those lines, where they could have been on the speakerphone together, but...
All right. And you told us before, when you testified in your deposition, that before you actually had sex with Heather, they brought this up somewhere between 20 and 40 times, right?
That was a guesstimate. It was over a period of a year and a half, 2 years. It was several times. It could have been less than 20, could have been more than 40, but it was a constant badgering.
It's a lot, right?
Yeah, it was a running gag with them.
Okay. And Bubba would tell you that Heather really wanted to have sex with you, right?
In so many words, yes, sir.
Okay. And he would say that things like, well, she wanted to see you naked, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And he also told you that in person, didn't he?
Excuse me?
He being Bubba, also told you that in person, didn't he?
Yeah, during the workouts, he'd just joke around, like at the end of the workout, hey, when are you going to have sex with Heather? Just a throwaway, like just another poke,
All right. Now, I think you touched on this in your direct testimony, but Bubba had bragged about his so-called swinging lifestyle, hadn't he?
Yes, sir.
Okay. He made no secret of that, right?
No, sir, even talked about it on the radio.
Yeah, he and Heather had an open marriage, and Bubba seemed proud of that, didn't he?
He did not seem embarrassed about it. I don't know if proud's a word, but he was definitely not embarrassed about it.
Okay. And you had heard on the radio about him having these parties in a jacuzzi, and friends and folks, buddies of his, doctors, lawyers in town would come over for these parties in the jacuzzi. You'd heard that on the radio, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, you testified, we asked you in your deposition to tell us, when did this go from talking about all this stuff, right, to actually having sex with her? And you said you really couldn't remember. Remember that?
No, I don't remember the date. No, sir.
Oh, well, okay, let me ask you this. You indicated earlier, told us that there were like 3, maybe 4 of these occasions where you had a sexual encounter with Heather?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, each time you had sex with Bubba's wife, it was with his blessing, wasn't it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, let's focus in on your relationship, not with Bubba, but with Heather Clem, before you had these sexual encounters. Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
All right. You saw her, I think you told us, probably 4 or 5 times, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Had dinner with Bubba and Heather once?
Yes, sir.
1 time. You saw her twice at the racetrack, right?
To the best of my recollection, yes, sir. It was at
Yeah.
2 different racetracks.
Yeah. You went to Bubba's house for Thanksgiving 1 time, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, you never called Heather on the phone, did you?
To the best of my recollection, I don't remember calling her, and if I did, it was looking for him. So I don't remember calling her at all.
Right.
There was
And
no
she
reason
never
to
called
call
you,
her.
did she?
No, sir.
You didn't have that kind of relationship?
No, sir.
Okay. And by that, I mean, let's be fair. When I say calling her, I meant calling her directly, like on her cell phone, or calling the home for Heather. I believe you told me at one point that, well, there were times I'd call for Bubba, and Heather would pick up the phone.
That would be at home, yes, sir.
Okay. But you didn't have a personal relationship where you'd be calling her, right?
No, sir.
Okay. You didn't exchange texts with her, did you?
No, sir.
Didn't exchange emails with her, did you?
At that time, I didn't know how to email.
All right. So you wouldn't have been emailing her?
No, sir.
Okay. Now, and you also didn't really socialize with Heather?
No, I did not.
Okay. Now, we're going to shift our focus yet again and look at the first time you and Heather had sex. After that, you continued to socialize with Bubba, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And things continued just as they had always done, right? With Bubba.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And your relationship with Bubba did not change in any way, did it?
No, we were still friends.
All right. Now, at some point, you had these sexual encounters with Heather, and then at some point, you and Heather stopped having sex, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And Bubba never asked, hey, now that you've done this 3 or 4 times, how come you're not doing it anymore? He never asked you that, did he?
No, the only thing he ever asked me is if I would have sex with Heather, and then he never asked again. It just stopped.
Okay. After you'd done it a few times, then it just
Yeah, it just stopped.
Conversation stopped.
He never brought it up again.
Okay. And after the last time you had sex with Heather, you never discussed it with her again, did you?
No, sir.
Okay. And after, with respect to Heather, after you stopped having sex with her, you didn't see her anymore, right? But in fairness, you didn't see her anymore until you moved into their house.
Yes,
right?
sir. Exactly.
Okay. All right. Now, let's talk about that for a minute. You lived with Bubba and Heather in their home at one point.
Yes,
right?
sir.
All right. And this was somewhere between about, what, a month and 2 months, right?
4, 5, 6 weeks until I could find a place to live.
Okay. And this was shortly after your wife filed for divorce, right?
It was a time frame where the judge said I wasn't allowed to live in my house, and then the judge was going to let me stay at a small beach house, and my attorney told me I couldn't live there because it was in my ex-wife's name, and she was calling the cops anytime, like if the sprinkler system didn't work, she'd call the cops. So my attorney said, you cannot live there, you can't stay there. So I grabbed a bunch of garbage bags and headed to a hotel for a day or two until Bubba found out, and then he invited me to come stay with him.
Okay. Now, and that was around the time your wife filed for divorce, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And which was in November of 2007, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, when you lived with Bubba, when you moved into the home with them, that was after the point in time when you'd had this sexual relationship with Heather, wasn't it?
Yes, sir, it was.
Okay. And when you lived with them, and this would be around November 2007, I think you told us before, it was uncomfortable, right?
Very uncomfortable.
Okay. And you had a fear that Heather was going to come on to you while you were living in their house, right?
I had that fear, and I was also afraid that Bubba would kind of like bully me or poke me or try to egg it on. I was afraid of both of them coming at me at the same time or her by herself. It was very uncomfortable being there.
Okay. You were fearful that Bubba and Heather would bully you into resuming sexual relations with Heather.
That's a fair statement.
Okay. Now, that never happened, did it?
No, sir, it did not.
Okay. And Heather never came on to you while you were living under her roof, right?
No, sir, she did not.
Okay. And she never did try to seduce you while you stayed under her roof, right?
No, sir.
Okay. And when you stayed there with Heather, you wouldn't really make eye contact. She wouldn't make eye contact with you, would she?
It felt different because I would see her at night when Bubba would come home. I'd come home late in the day after Bubba was home. And in the morning, Bubba would leave way before I woke up because he had to be on the air at 6 a.m. So he'd get up about 5 or 4:30 and head out. And when I would wake up and leave, Heather would be getting the children ready. So when I would come from the other side of the house that Bubba let me use, I would see her to get a cup of coffee or while she's getting the kids ready, and there was no eye contact. It was just plain. There was no aggressiveness. She didn't approach me. She just said hello, goodbye, and that was it. And I would leave immediately and not come home all day long until Bubba came home.
Right. So when you, in fact, in the mornings, you'd say good morning to her, and she would avoid your gaze and just look down, wouldn't she?
Exactly. There was something different that
right.
She seemed more friendly before, but now it was kind of like she didn't even know me.
Okay. Let me ask you this, kind of circling back to this business about a swinger lifestyle and open marriage and all this kind of business. At the time you were having sex with Heather, you didn't think you were the only person that Bubba was permitting to have sex with his wife, right?
I knew she had sex before with other people. I didn't know at that time. The thought never entered my mind at that time whether she was having sex with someone else.
Okay. Did Bubba ever tell you, well, because of this hearing about this open marriage and what have you, I take it you thought that these kinds of things had happened in the past. Is that fair to say?
That's a fair statement.
Okay. In your discussions with Bubba, did he ever tell you that he had videos of Heather having sex with other partners?
Never. Never.
discussion at the bench. That's the end of the section there. Well, that's what I thought we were just discussing. But yes, it would be.
So, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, if we're going to go ahead and stop for the day, tomorrow morning when you come back, we will pick up again with Mr. Sullivan's cross-examination and Mr. Vallejo. So, remember the case instructions, don't talk to anybody about the case, over the case, so we need your own research about the people and parties involved in this particular case. And tomorrow, I'll ask you to come to tomorrow about 9:15. All right, and then we'll go through it. Thank you all very much. Please put your notes back in your envelope. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Judge, they may not have someone ready to go Friday, if we finish before Friday. I think we scheduled this with the idea, frankly, that we would get our case in this week, or next week. I don't know if we want to talk about that.
Here's the thing, Your Honor. We had a bunch of people that scheduled their travel to come in this weekend, be ready to go on Monday. And then we heard something this morning about, well, they may even be able to wrap up on Thursday, which kind of throws a little bit of a monkey wrench in the works.
So do you want to see if we can get anybody else coming in earlier?
I don't know.
We will. We'll explore and then we'll report to you.
I mean, if all possible, I'd like to just continue to go right through rather than having breaks along the way. Jury would probably rather break sooner rather than have days off here and there.
Oh, yeah, I mean, that would be our preference too. When we had originally slotted out with the police conference and stuff, usually up until last week, we both said 5 days to all of our folks out of town.
That's what I said.
We do. Do we have deposition? We do. It's not as lengthy as I think what's going to be in the case. Well, we'll take a look at it.
Thanks.